Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, where I'm always breaking down the hot sports topics of the day. So be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube to get all of my videos delivered directly to your inbox. I'm going to start doing some NFL season previews and sort of looking ahead for the teams in the NFL as far as where I think they should go in the draft, where I think they should go in the offseason with their personnel moves, and also the good and bad things from their previous season. The Miami Dolphins are first up. They finished 7-9 in the AFC East. Some good aspects of this season was definitely the play of Brian Hartline. Receiver out of Ohio State, not much heralded coming in to the NFL. He went over 1,000 yards receiving, over 70 catches on the season, so definitely a bright spot there. Also was Devon Best. Devon Best missed some games throughout the year. Otherwise, he might have gone over 1,000 yards as well. So definitely two receivers that, while I don't think you can build a program around them or they can be your two best receivers if you're a playoff team, definitely two good second and third receiving options, I feel, in the offense for the Dolphins. As far as some other good aspects of the season on the offensive side of the ball, I think Reggie Bush, although he fell just short of 1,000 yards, almost 1,000 yards 2 years in a row. He's starting to develop some consistency. I think him, along with Lamar Miller, because I think Daniel Thomas was a little disappointing this season. But Lamar Miller, the rookie out of Miami, showed some glimpses, had over 70 yards against the Bills, 50 carries for about 250 yards this year. I think he showed some promise, and I think you'll also see him get an increased role in the backfield. Reggie Bush is a free agent, and I'll get into later why I think they'll retain him as long as he's looking for too much money, which he probably won't be. On the defensive side of the ball, Cameron Wake again with a very solid season. Wake now has made 2 Pro Bowls in 3 years, and this is his 4th year in the NFL. So he's becoming a consistent part of that Dolphins defense, as is their offensive line. I mean, the interior with Koa Misi and the boys inside are solid. Their linebacking core is even solid. Where the Dolphins' problems have been on defense has been in the secondary. The one bright spot in the secondary this season was Rashad Jones, safety, a dark horse Pro Bowl candidate. He didn't make the Pro Bowl, but again, a solid season and a guy they'll look to build around in a secondary that I feel will look a lot different next year. As far as the bad parts of the season for the Dolphins, I think Tannehill, I'm not saying he played bad. I think he developed just like rookie quarterbacks develop. But I think with the influx of great young quarterbacks in the NFL, that he's going to get some heat for not being as good as the RG3s, Andrew Lucks, Russell Wilsons. When quite frankly, I don't think anyone expected him to be. He's more of a developmental quarterback and less of a finished product than those other guys were. I like what I saw from Tannehill. I like what I saw in the short to medium passing game from Tannehill. Like a lot of young quarterbacks, he needs to improve on his blitz recognition. He needs to improve on his completion percentage. And what the Dolphins can do to help him is get him some down the field threats so they can stretch the field. A lot of times you saw a bunch of teams crowding the line, bumping receivers just because of the lack of downfield threats that Tannehill had at his disposal. Like I said before, Daniel Thomas, definitely a subpar season as well. 3.6 yards a carry, that's just not going to get it done. Again, I look for him to have less of a role next year and Lamar Miller to have more of a role along with Reggie Bush. Their secondary as a whole for the Dolphins, definitely subpar. You know, they traded Vontae Davis to the Colts in the preseason thinking they had the talent to back it up there. Some injuries obviously precluded that from happening. But nonetheless, the secondary was the big problem with the defense. Very rarely do you have a defensive line as good as the Dolphins have, a relatively good linebacking core, and then the back end isn't good. Usually that when those front seven are good, it leads to the back end being good. And we didn't see that with the Dolphins, so I look for them to further develop the young guys they have back there, or definitely look to make some changes. One guy in the defensive line kind of confused me a little bit was Jared Odrick. He was their 2010 first-round draft pick, showed great glimpses in 2011, and had a subpar 2012. Even with Wake on the other side, garnering a lot of the attention on the defensive line, he still had a subpar season, so look for him to bounce back. And as a whole, when a team that does not have playmakers on offense can only force 16 turnovers the whole year and is at a -10 turnover differential, it makes it very hard to win. So that's something that I know Joe Philbin preaches. I've heard many quotes from him on that. Look for that to improve next year as well. As far as the draft goes for the Dolphins, they have 5 picks in the first 100 picks. And I think, as with any developing team, I think Joe Philbin knows this. I think the organization knows this. You know, Philbin comes from the Packers, who a lot of the guys you'll see play in the playoffs later on tonight were drafted. So I think by the Packers. So he knows the importance of the draft. These 5 picks in the first 100 picks, I think you'll see them focus on offensive line, okay, which was leaky at some point, solid with Pouncey, solid with Jake Long, but they could lose Jake Long. If I was them, I'd build a solid infrastructure around Tannehill. I'd go with offensive linemen, because we've seen you could be the best young quarterback in the world. If you don't have an adequate offensive line, it really doesn't mean that much. So build an offensive line first, get him maybe a playmaker or two at wide receiver, either via free agency or the draft. I like to see wide receivers grow with their quarterbacks. Unless you can get a stud, which I don't think is going to be available this year for the Dolphins at least. And I don't think they want to spend that kind of money. Obviously some secondary help. They can use some definite secondary help as well. As far as the offseason goes, they have 13 free agents and a lot of cap room. So I look for them to be able to retain the free agents they want to retain. I think they'll retain Reggie Bush, Anthony Fasano, Brian Hartline. I think they'll retain all those guys, because I think Hartline is a good fit with Tannehill. He recognizes that. Fasano's a solid tight end. Okay, probably won't demand that much money. And again, Bush, I think, wants to be in Miami, realizes he's out of the circus of the whole Hollywood spotlight. He's become a better on-field, production-wise player because of it. Has become the running back I think he wanted to be. And I think he's at peace, so I think he'll definitely won't garner as much money and to be able to keep him. Jake Long is the only problem I see here with the Dolphins. I think what's going to happen is the Dolphins will want to keep him. But I think with the value put on the left tackle position and how many teams are having so much trouble protecting good quarterbacks. I mean, right off the top of my head, I look at Jay Cutler, okay, in Chicago. Teams like this that have the solid quarterback but don't have the offensive line. I look for one of those teams, maybe even Arizona, with how bad their offensive line is. I look for one of these teams to throw money at Jake Long, so I think signing him is going to be a problem. I look at him ultimately being elsewhere next year. And remember, he is coming off an injury to end the season this year, which doesn't look like it's long-term, but I don't think they'll be able to commit the money to Jake Long that they probably would like to when they have so many other needs on the team. So that's how I see the Dolphins season in review. Where I see them going in the offseason, I think they're headed in the right direction with Philbin. I think Philbin sent a message early on and from watching Hard Knocks that he's going to run this program his way. It might be the only job he gets in the NFL. He's going to run it his way. He's going to run it his disciplined way. He's going to build this thing up. He's going to bring along Tannehill. And I like where the Dolphins are headed as long as they make some good offseason pickups. When I say good, I don't mean big money. I mean guys that fit, and guys in the draft that can really be difference makers on offense and in the secondary. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm on about my Dolphins season in review? Where do you see them headed in the offseason? Be sure to check out my other videos. Subscribe to my page. Hit me up in the YouTube comments. And I'm also on Twitter, @SNewsAnalysis. Thanks, guys.